Hello, and welcome back to our Oscars recap. This is episode 7? 7. We went to like a marathon to finish the last of these Oscar movies.
We did, which was so much fun.
Yeah.
I had a really good time.
Yep.
We had a really good theater experience.
Yeah, a lot of people
like reacting to what
Yes.
was happening on screen.
Good theater experience.
Yes.
But we saw...
I'm Still Here.
Thank you, because I forgot the title.
Which-
I'm Still Here.
This was a heavy movie to take in
It
at
was.
12 noon.
Yeah, it is the first movie, and it set the tone to be like, okay, today's going to be...
For those who don't know, this is a foreign film. Kind of
Yes.
about the militia in Brazil in the early 70s.
Yeah, so like that, like the fascist... Yeah.
Yeah, and basically what they were doing was they were arresting people who
Mhm.
were against them in any way.
Arresting basically everybody for like literally anything.
Yeah, and then killing them, and then
Mhm.
telling people they didn't even arrest them, and basically just trying to not have any fault.
So this is a true story. This movie is about, a family, and the father basically gets taken, and it's all about the wife trying to find out what happened
Yes.
to the father.
And I really liked this movie. It was
it took a minute to get going.
Yes.
But once it got there, it was great. Like I talked about this in our quick review, but she did an amazing performance, especially in like the whole like prison like scene.
Oh yes, for the interrogation.
Yeah.
And we'll stay away from spoilers for the time being, but the main character, Eunice was her name. I just looked it up. I literally almost forgot it again. I feel bad. But she, like you said, fantastic performance. And when you go to see a foreign film, there's a little bit you have to pay even extra attention because you're not only having to read everything, but you're also wanting to watch the characters' emotions.
And I feel like a lot of foreign films tend to be more raw.
Yeah.
There isn't like a lot of music to like carry you along. It's like you have to actually pay attention.
Yes. Yeah. But this movie, I felt, did a really good job at keeping my attention, even though it was 12 noon. And I gotta admit, like you said, it took a little bit to get started. Like there were times in the beginning where I was still
I was struggling to stay awake in the beginning.
very groggy, like even though I'd been up for a few hours, it was like that midday, like just had lunch.
We got a Monster Energy drink after that.
Yes, we did. But like we had some Chinese food beforehand. And it's like you sit down and the theater's all warm, and it's like you're having to read everything, so your eyes get tired. And but once it got going,
Good
I was fully in it. I really enjoyed it.
It's hard to talk about this one without spoilers because it is, I don't know. It did have that problem where it has more than one ending.
It does.
It's like kind of like, like Lord of the Rings. There's like several endings.
Yeah.
Like a bunch of movies that it's like it ended like several times. This is weird.
Yeah. I will say one thing I really loved about it is the family really felt like a family.
Yeah.
All the brothers and sisters and the mother, you felt that like closeness.
I like the picture at the end, how they explained why it was taken that way. How she wanted them to smile because like she's like laughing in the face.
Yeah.
Of like, this fascist regime.
Yeah. And one thing I always love about true story movies is at the end seeing the like actual photos and seeing like what actually happened and just seeing how true really the story was. And there was so much in there that it was like, okay, wow, that actually did happen. That photo was real and stuff. And it was good. It was a really, really good story that I didn't know anything about. So ready to rate it and then talk about spoilers?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10.
I'm going to give it a 6.
A 6?
And I know I talked about it real well, but it felt, if you look at the story, it felt kind of simplistic and shallow.
Really? Okay.
And that might not be on the real story. That might just be on like, how they did it in the movie.
Yeah.
But it just felt like, I don't know, it didn't feel like there was any sort of investigation. Like there was, but there wasn't. I don't know. It shouldn't have the depth that I thought it should.
Okay.
And my rating, I think the quick review was higher.
I think you gave it a 7.
But after thinking about it, I do think it's a 6. It just doesn't feel as detailed.
I don't know what it is about this one, but this one has my initial rating getting out of the theater was an 8, and it's still an 8 for me. I really liked it. I thought the performances were great. I understand why this was nominated, and it's something that like I even told my mother about. Like I'm like, I think she would really like this movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, it's a foreign film, but I think you would really enjoy the story and really like enjoy this character's performance.
Just skip the shower scene.
Yeah, it's very brief. This movie was. Did you know this was PG-13?
It's PG-13.
It's PG-13.
Really?
Really?
They just showed nipple PG-13.
Titanic did it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, you can apparently do that. You know, free the nipple.
Oh my god.
But this movie basically ends with it cuts 20 years in or 25 years into the future to like 96, and she has gone back to college and become
she's like not a rights activist. She's like helping
something like that though. I forget exactly what.
She's like aiding people with similar stories.
Yeah, was she a legal aid?
I don't know. She might have been, but she was helping people.
Okay.
However,
keep in mind, we saw 4 of these movies in one day, so it's a little jumbled. But basically, she finally receives her husband's death certificate.
Yeah, I was gonna say she went to like the what you would call it, the office.
Yeah,
and they had the death certificate, and that was that closure.
Yes.
And in my head, I'm like, this is the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And then it kept going.
And then it cuts to
like 20 years later.
2014, I believe.
2014, yes.
And she has Alzheimer's, and there's this really sweet moment where she's like watching the TV while her family's like having this big gathering, and they're talking about like what happened in Brazil all those years ago. Yeah. And they mention her husband, and you see in her eyes the actress who played her did so good in that little scene.
It's one of those things where it's like, you know, see an old lady that just zoned out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she like regained consciousness and like was like actively like moving and like, and it's just like she regained a little bit of life.
Yeah. It was so sweet. But then just like that, as quick as it came back, she was gone again.
And her son was just randomly in a diving accident. Didn't explain.
Yeah, which I had to look up afterwards because her son is just randomly in a wheelchair after like the 20-year time jump, and it's like, wait,
he had a diving accident.
Yeah, and I thought they would have explained that too in like the little at the end whenever it's showing the like real pictures, but then it didn't. So I had to look it up. But if anyone wants to know, he got into a diving accident and was paralyzed. So what a great way to end the video on. Thank you all for watching.
Wow.
Stay tuned for the last 3 reviews. We got 3 left.
What's next?
Next Conclave, yes.
Conclave.
Which I have some thoughts about.
Do you?
I do.
Did you change your mind on anything?
Not really. We'll talk about it.
Okay.
But we'll catch you guys in the next video.
And you're just going to have to go with it.
Yep.